So, I've started this project where my goal is to shoot one Facebook Live video per day for 100 days. Now, when I started the project, I'd already done a little bit of experimenting with live video, and in particular with Facebook Live, and it had mostly been, on a technical level, successful. Nothing terribly interesting or groundbreaking, but the technology worked. Once I started the project and the commitment to do a live video per day, suddenly I started having all these audio problems. And I've done a little bit of research, and this is apparently something that other Facebook Live broadcasters have run into in the past. But while there's plenty of evidence in online discussions of the problem, there is no hint as to what the solution is. It seems to be that there's some sort of technical glitch in the product itself that Facebook is constantly trying to fix, and they get partial fixes in. So anyway, so far I've not been able to figure out if there's anything on my end I can do to make the audio work better. This is just a Facebook Live problem. I've not had this issue with other things. Somebody asked, why not just use YouTube Live? I'm familiar with YouTube Live. I love it. For various reasons, we've decided to go with YouTube Live for the broadcast and live stream of our services here at Glenview New Church, in part because we value the archive as much as the live stream for those, and YouTube just has way better reach when it comes to archived video. Other things though, I think Facebook actually is a little bit more effective because Facebook Live is really, really good at doing something that so far YouTube Live doesn't do, quickly building an audience from scratch. That's very, very valuable as well. And so since I've been doing experimenting with YouTube Live for our worship gatherings on Sunday mornings, I thought, let's do some Facebook Live experimenting with my little project. And it's not working. So, what I wanted to talk about today in my live shoot was format in Facebook Live. So somewhat ironically, I'm now doing a non-live video about that. So here's what I wanted to talk about. Doing Facebook Live is like a lot of, whenever you get like a new technology that has aspects of old technologies and techniques in it, one of the things that can be interesting and profitable is to explore the differences between the new and what it seems to be emulating. The analogy would be when the automobile was first invented, when people thought of them as horseless buggies. It's a thing, but different. During the horseless buggy phase of any technology, usually the technology is not being used to its best ability. Perhaps a better analogy would be the way broadcast media evolved over time. When radio first came about, a lot of what was being broadcast was stage shows and concerts. What the radio shows were trying to do is try to give the listener at home the experience of being in the music hall. Over time, though, completely new formats were created that would make no sense in a live, physically present setup. And if you think about most radio today, it's nothing like sitting in a music hall. When film came about, early movies were kind of like sitting in a theater watching a play on a stage. There was a short period of time where a lot of early film basically looked like that. It was a camera setup pointed at something from one particular angle. You watched it played out in a rectangle, and that's how it worked. But the real innovators of filmmaking very quickly started to realize that with a camera, you weren't stuck with one particular angle, and you could swing it around. I'm right now resisting the urge to mess with the camera here. Look at the same set from different angles. A set could be more three-dimensional. You could use cameras for the purpose of special effects. You could cut in for close shots and for wide shots, but it took a little bit of time for people to figure that out. That's kind of where Facebook Live is right now. Facebook Live looks and acts a little bit like live television, and it looks and acts a little bit like YouTube videos, but it's kind of not quite either. So I want to talk about format, because I think format's one of the things that really highlights the differences. With something that you watch that's pre-recorded, it has a defined beginning, middle, and end. And so if you're planning on making a video, if you're being intelligent about it, will craft out some sort of an outline or a script, or at least some bullet points in your head that define a beginning, a middle, and an end. If instead of looking at it as a pre-recorded video on YouTube, you're thinking it more as like a live television broadcast, well, think about how live television broadcasts work. They get promoted ahead of time, and they're tied to an event. Like, okay, so let's say, for instance, a football game. You know when it's going to start, and when it starts, there's pre-recorded material that comes in, and you get the music and the graphics and all that. And then somebody looks into the camera and says, "Hello and welcome to Monday Night Football," and they sort of do a whole thing, and they frame the live event. And the live event itself has a defined period of time, and there's all sorts of stuff that's going on. But that beginning is like, bam, off to the races. It's still a defined beginning. And there's a defined middle and a defined end. And so it still has that structure. That's not how Facebook Live is working these days. The way Facebook Live works is you turn the camera on and boom, you're live with an audience, for the most part, of 0. Then your network gets this announcement. Hey, Mac Fraser is broadcasting live. Come check it out. People start to slowly filter in. Almost like you're set up in a conference room somewhere, and people in the building hear, oh, there's somebody here to give a talk, and they start to slowly filter into the room. So what do you do with that beginning? There's the live audience, and then there's also the people who are going to watch it back later. Who's your primary audience, and who are you going to talk to? A standard presentation has a beginning, a middle, and an end. You can also look at this as not a presentation, but more like a talk show. And if you think about the way the talk show format works, is usually there's a monologue section, and then you go to the callers. That doesn't quite work with Facebook Live, because at the beginning, nobody's watching or listening. So the monologue would only be for the people that tune in later. One approach is you could treat a Facebook Live video as filmed before a live studio audience kind of setup. The way that works, if you've ever been to the taping of a TV show, is there's a period when the audience filters in, and then there's like warm-up, and none of the warm-up is for the purpose of watching back. The host may interact with the audience, or a producer may get the audience just sort of engaged with what's going on. There may be music ahead of time, and so there's stuff that's just there for the live audience that you never see on camera. And then 3, 2, 1, the cameras start, and the show starts, and the show has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So maybe one way to treat Facebook Live is to treat it that way. And when you first go live, as people start to filter in, say hello. Say things like, hi Carly, hi Connie, hi Will. You interact with them. You sort of have a little back and forth while you wait for the audience to build. And then you 3, 2, 1 yourself, and you go into your beginning, your middle, and your end. And then maybe if you want to afterwards, you can have like a Q&A kind of thing. Later on, you have the ability to edit the video, and if you don't want all that warm-up stuff to be in what's watched back, you can chop that out. There's another approach which is sort of the opposite, and that is, well, since you don't have the live audience there at the start, you can use that opening stuff to speak specifically to the audience that's watching back, like video on demand. And there you can sort of set things up. You say, today I'm going to be talking about this, and sort of give them a little bit of a preview, warm up the watchback audience a bit until the live audience gets to where you want it to be, and then you go into your live show. That, I think, is probably a little bit clunkier, but it's a way that you can go. One of the things that I've thought about is you can use sort of filler and countdown stuff at the beginning. You could have something where the camera just starts pointing at a monitor, there's a countdown, maybe some questions. Hey, we're going to start in 2 minutes. How about you share this with your friends and invite them in, that kind of thing. And then go right into your beginning, middle, and end on at the end of a countdown. That's another thing you can do. I think one of the things that's really cool about Facebook Live, which hasn't been used as well as I think it can be, is the fact that you can ask questions and throw comments up during the broadcast. There's a little bit of a delay, but it makes the person who's doing the presenting able to immediately respond back to what's going on. If you know a little bit about some of the preaching techniques that I developed while I was in Austin, you know that actually has a lot of appeal to me and my whole theory about how people learn and how to best instruct through presentation. Okay, so this video is getting a little bit long, which means that I now need to talk about length. In the world of YouTube, in general, a video that runs more than about 2 minutes has to be really, really dense with content that people really, really want and value. If it's under 2 minutes, then it can be something light and entertaining. If you go light and entertaining or unstructured and casual for more than 2 minutes, the video is not going to get shared around. It's not going to have a good audience. People are going to abandon it partway through. If it's really, really dense and useful content, people can go, maybe 10 minutes. Apparently, what YouTube Livers are doing is they are, for the most part, running 20 minutes or longer. Now, there are two reasons. One, they're trying to build an audience. The longer you're running, the more people will log into Facebook, get that little notification, or will see your face scroll by in their feed and say, oh, I'm going to check that out. So running longer gives you more opportunity to build audience. It's also true that running longer gives your existing audience more opportunity to say, you know what, this guy's wasting my time, I got other stuff to do. Short is definitely a lot better for playback, because if you're going to tune into a thing, if the person doing the video, the host, so to speak, is doing a lot of rambling and is doing a lot of interacting with people live on screen, which has nothing to do with the person who's watching it back later, and this goes on for 20 or more minutes, there's no point in watching that. There might be good content somewhere in there, but you're going to have to skim to find it. So short is better for the watch back audience. So again, I'll note you can edit your live video after it closes down so that the watchback video is shorter. Long is better for building an audience. Then there's also, in general, we are accustomed to content of a certain length in certain mediums. In the world of television, 22 minutes is sort of a magical number, like the perfect length for attention span. And yes, things go longer than 22 minutes, but they get broken up into multiple segments. In the world of online content, especially online content on people's mobile devices, people are looking at 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds for what they're looking for. Hard to say what's going to be the sweet spot for Facebook Live. So those are just some thoughts that I've had. I'm really curious, how do you think Facebook Live should be used? What can we learn from other broadcast mediums that will inform how Facebook Live can best be used by people who want to communicate, lead, teach, entertain, connect with people like me, maybe people like you. And here's the big question. What can we do with Facebook Live that we can't do with any other medium? And maybe not just Facebook Live, but live video streaming. What can live video streaming do that nothing before it ever could? At least not as well. Let me know. Put a comment in this video or send me a message. Yeah, I'll talk to you later. And I still may try to do a live video later today if I get some time to like work more on the audio issues. I don't foresee that happening, so I'm going to cheat again. This is going to count as my video for the day unless you hear otherwise. See ya.